Yeah, so we have 5 general objectives in the project that we are trying to achieve in the course of the 3.5 years that we have. And we are trying to integrate disciplinary understandings and contextual understandings, so of the different countries that we work in, on the interactions between human, animal and environmental health, and doing this at different scales. The second objective is to then really start to get to grip to understanding these interactions in holistic systems thinking. So can we parameterize and model some of these interactions with novel integrated and participatory elements to it, with the purpose to look at pathways to improve the sustainability of the food systems and to make them more adapted to climate change. This is also, of course, something we have to keep in mind. Then the third objective is to really have a stakeholder engagement approach in the project, so to co-develop, trial and collectively evaluate sorry, the language is a bit difficult here. The management strategies and practices that can help us build these pathways and that have the potential to really transform the systems. And the fourth objective is then to collaborate with a diverse range of stakeholders to understand how this can be done in a more equitable way, and to make sure that there are creative ways to give recognition and voice to the varied experiences and priorities for the transformation. So from the grassroots level up to the policy level. Key food system transformations that we look into. The first is to look at the kind of key staple crop in the countries that we look at is maize, but there's tendencies to see how these farming systems can be improved by diversification, by having leguminous crops into the mix, by looking at integration of livestock. So how are these transformations taking place, and what challenges and opportunities do they look into? This will be looked at in Malawi and in Tanzania. The second one is transformations of land and water use in the context of rapid population growth. There's a lot of land use changes going on, increasing agricultural areas, but also as an adaptation process, the drive towards using more water, and what kind of challenges does this lead to, both for the agricultural sustainability but also for the One Health ramifications of this. And we will look at that in southern Malawi and in central Zambia. The third transformation is to see the development from local markets towards production and integration into export markets or broader national scale markets. So what kind of changes are taking place in the commoditization of agricultural systems?
So from our discussion, I think our most urgent task is making sure that we do the stakeholder mapping so that we are able to then have a more detailed plan for the stakeholder engagement. We have agreed as a team that we've developed a template that we are going to be using for the stakeholder mapping that each country is supposed to collect. We have agreed that we're going to have 3 lists of sort of stakeholder mapping templates. The first one is a long list of stakeholders where we would go maybe as far as identifying 100 stakeholders that we could possibly engage with throughout the life of the project. The second one is going to be a sort of short list of those stakeholders to the most critical ones. So we have a sort of criteria that we have agreed on that's going to allow us to get to that point. Then the last bit is that we are going to have a small group of people, between 5 and 10 in each country, that we are going to engage with on a sort of closer level, which we have decided to call, for lack of a better word, our country task force sort of stakeholders. We've agreed that we're going to have all that done by the end of January 2023. We are having our first work package meeting on the last Thursday of January, and then thereafter we'll be having it every last Thursday of the second month.
So what we've agreed is that the first intervention is for us to recruit postdocs, whether at Leeds or Malawi or Tanzania, because these postdocs are the ones that will help us to define the scope of work from the technical side. Then when we engage the postdoc, the second intervention is to define the whole research intervention, because in the work package 2 it's just lumped into one paragraph, but we've subdivided that. So it involve research planning, maybe correction of secondary data. It also involve analyzing that data and then supporting the practice of abstract. That's what we want to do. But also before this, we've also agreed that there is a need to identify the data sources. We have also shared the pillar leads that will lead into those data sources and the type of data that we want to do. Then when we design the whole research plan, then we'll work together with work package 1 to start engaging the people at the country level, and then also allow the postdoc to continue leading into the technical side. We've also suggested that these postdoc, they should be working together, either remotely or sometimes they can be together in one space physically. I think that's what we've done. Then we have also agreed that myself and Luke, we are going to draft a detailed work plan that will not only involve the technical side, but it will also involve the country engagement, it will involve the work package 1, and even the modelers. So I think that's what we agreed. Yeah, thank you.
Task 1, that is looking at the baseline and the analysis of longitudinal secondary data. And task 2 was empirical analysis of systems dynamics. So what we actually agreed was that the first one is that Malawi seems to be ahead, because Malawi, they have already been working, and the study site is already fully well known and fully accomplished. And therefore, for Malawi, they have phase 1 data, phase 2 data, and therefore they can actually proceed, considering that the stakeholders are already known.
We specifically were talking about that we need to look at analyzing consumer practices and mapping that, and work from data that we already have. We've got a lot of data in South Africa. The other side is Lusaka and Zambia, where we don't have a lot of data. But there's lots of databases that's listed in the proposal that we know about, that we don't really know how it's going to contribute to this project. So by making that the first priority in the next few months, we want to look at all these databases, put them in a document in Teams for Work Package 5 that can fit into your other document, analyze what we can use, and look at the gaps.
It was really needing to pull together both within the work package between, say, Andy's modelling, my mapping, and leading into Kath's sort of engagement and impact processes towards the end of the work package. So we need to sort of pull on how we're integrating with each other. But we were also noting, and as has been noted in other work package discussions, that this work package should also be integrating with the other work packages.
Is the project management protocol, and we've agreed that, so that's great. We're already ticking a box, which again makes me feel happy. We, over the next few months, are going to be putting together and sharing a data management plan for the project, and as Luke explained, that is something that we have to have in place by month 6, but it's also something that we have to revisit. Hopefully there's a feeling that we've met, or at least partially met, some of these objectives. The first was to get to know each other and to kickstart our working relationships. I personally feel like I've made new friends and colleagues, and I hope you feel the same too. It's been really nice to have these few days together to get to know each other better. And the second was to exchange information, ideas and knowledge to provide a background to the project. I want to thank again all of the country teams that presented their country deep dives, which I think were really invaluable in terms of giving us the background that we need to refine our thinking about the project and the actions and activities that we're going to implement.
And I wanted to flag a caution based on the gender session that we did this morning, that it's really useful to look across these diversities of understandings, but we're still shaped by our own worldviews. And I note that we didn't explicitly look at gender in these models, and now I'm thinking that we should. So we need to bring that in there, not just under the heading of power, but specifically look at gender. And so for me, this is the other important thing from this session, that we need to pool our ideas and our worldviews so that we do get this diversity of understandings and we're not led down a narrow approach for this is the food system.
So at the University of Zambia, we have a new structure which we have actually built. This is the Africa Center of Excellency for Infectious Diseases of Humans and Animals. That's where we actually gather, or where we gather a number of faculties to concentrate in actually One Health. So this particular center is actually one of the 24 Africa Centers of Excellency in Eastern and Southern Africa, and is financed by the World Bank Group. And this particular center, in our case, it focuses on diseases of One Health.
So when we look at the gross value, it's on the way up, but the share of the economy is on the way down. And as we try to put resources in stimulating the growth, interestingly, it's not only agriculture that benefits from any rand you spend in agriculture. You will be surprised that if you spend on expanding the raisins industry, grapes, you spend a lot of money buying the sticks and other things, very few on what you would classify as agriculture. The day it starts giving you the returns, you start to see other guys like the insurance and the banking starting to grow because of this. So in our view, the 2.7% share of the economy is what it should be, because the sector is in a very industrial environment.
We do have, as Julie mentioned, a deliverable within the project, which is to map the system. And Julie and I have been talking a bit about what that might translate into. And we think we want it to translate into a kind of plurality of maps.
So for each work package, just spend 5 or so minutes thinking about what are the key gender issues, concepts, or domains that relate to the work package. And then what are some specific activities or ways of designing activities to be at least gender responsive in how we're working.